Hey everyone, I'm Ann. Welcome to the Let's Get Naked podcast, where we dive deep into vulnerability. In this space, we'll explore what triggers us, uncover the patterns holding us back, and discover how to take charge of our own growth. If you're ready to dig in, be vulnerable, and face the tough stuff, then buckle up. It's time to get naked. You ever notice vengeance always looks hot at first? She struts in all confident, like, we're going to make them pay. And for a second, it feels good, powerful even, like you finally grabbed the steering wheel again. But here's the truth. Vengeance is fake power. It's fast food for the soul. Looks satisfying, zero nutrition, leaves you bloated with regret and still starving for peace. Vengeance is lazy healing. It's what we reach for when we're too afraid to sit with the real wound underneath, the betrayal, the rejection, the hit to our pride. So instead of processing, we plot. We throw emotional grenades and call it closure. But revenge isn't power, it's participation. It keeps you tied to the very thing you swear you're done with. You can't heal from what you keep reenacting. Vengeance is like holding a hot stone. You can clutch it as long as you want, but you're the only one getting burned. They're out there living their life, and you're standing in the ashes wondering why you still hurt. Real power, that's dropping the damn stone. That's walking away and letting karma do cardio. That's saying, I'm done bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand me a Band-Aid. Today's the day we talk about shedding that skin. The old, heavy one that used to feel like protection, but now just itches like hell. Because peace isn't passive, it's savage. It's choosing not to swing, even when you could land the hit. So yeah, we're going there. Let's talk about how to let it go or let it rot. Let's get naked. Today, I'm stripping it all off with my husband and life partner, Cameron. He's been on the show a couple of times before and somehow keeps agreeing to come back. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for the listeners at home, when Cameron comes on, I never know what the topic is going to be until he'll either say something or something will come up in, the days leading to it.
Yeah, I'll trigger you in some fashion.
Trigger me in some fashion.
Now it's time to air that one out.
Yeah. One of the things that Cameron has been working on since he was on last, or in the last couple of months, is just releasing vengeance, shedding vengeance, understanding the role that vengeance plays in who he is and what, the invisible weight he carries around. And so I had put in the calendar invite a couple weeks ago that shedding vengeance is what I had wanted to discuss for this podcast, and nothing else came to kick the topic out of its way, and so here we are. So I'll lead with vulnerability as that's what I tend to do. I didn't think that I was a very vengeful person until I started doing a little bit of inventory leading up to preparing for this show.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so I want to say thank you for the intro. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very thoughtful and very spot on. And I can't wait to see where we go with that one. So,
yeah. Do you want to lead? Maybe you want to lead.
No, I don't want to lead. You're the host, so I'm going to let you do the host thing.
I know.
But I just wanted to get the thank you in there for that because the intro was really well done.
Yeah, thank you. The vengeance that as I was thinking about, because when you agree to come on the show, I'm always surprised. Just so everyone at home knows, I'm always surprised every time he's like, "Sure." I'm like,
that makes two of us.
I know. I'm like, "Yeah, you want to come on again?" Because I think for the listeners at home, it's actually really powerful to be able to showcase as you progress through the work that you're doing. Because I think a lot of people are so scared to do the work that they don't realize how much benefit you get out of it. And so kind of doing the dog and pony show, Cameron and I always say like, got to go do the dog and pony show. We're never sure which one's the dog and which one's the pony, but it doesn't matter. That's what I feel like I do when I bring you on here. And so every time you agree, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to say yes again. And yet here we are. So as I was leading up to today's episode and thinking about, I don't feel like a very vengeful person, and I'm not now, but I spent a good chunk of my 30s, maybe 20s and 30s too, because something else kind of came to mind, but the thing that came to mind the hardest was the person that my sister was married to. I held him responsible for a long time for my sister's death. And I spent years laying in bed dreaming of ways to kill that motherfucker. And so that felt like vengeance as I was kind of doing inventory.
Well, it felt like vengeance from the other side of the bed too, because while you were dreaming of ways to make that go away, I was dreaming of ways to help you hide the body and all those types of things. Right. So so it's
Cameron is the biggest ride or die that I have, and so he's measuring for depth and body dimensions and shit like that. But I look back to how I felt during that time, and when you said before we started recording that like vengeance makes you feel warm and fuzzy.
Sure.
When you said that, I was like, no, it doesn't. And then as I'm sitting here talking, I'm like, yeah, it did.
Of course it does. That's why you keep on doing
exactly,
it, right?
It's like, it kind of did make me feel better about the entire situation.
Yeah, it's like eating the ice cream. Every little bite feels good, and every little bite feels good. But when you get to the end of it and all of a sudden you've eaten the whole gallon or the whole half gallon or whatever it is, you don't feel that good anymore, right?
No.
It's the same way. It's the same way with the vengeance. Every little bite, every little thought, it's good. It feels good, and then you get to a point where it's like, what in the world am I doing here?
Well, it's the opportunity cost.
And it doesn't taste good anymore.
Yeah, think about the opportunity cost, right? So if you can think about time that you've spent in engaging with vengeance for whatever reason, think about the energy that went into that.
Yeah.
Right? The where it pulled you away from your life or your other thoughts or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
I'll take half of what I spent back.
Sure.
And luckily, I got to a place several years ago where I was able to forgive him, not for him, but for me, because I was tired of holding the hot stone. When you realize that anger or that vengeance is literally just you standing there holding a hot brick. It doesn't affect anyone else, just yourself. So you're causing your own suffering in a situation because you can't.
It's a great analogy.
It is a great analogy.
Yeah.
I think so many times people don't really have a self-awareness, and I didn't either, a self-awareness where you realize the only person this is costing is me and my family or people that directly benefit from my energy.
Sure.
So being done doing that, and then just also understanding that that's just not my jam anymore. I'm not really interested in all that.
Right.
Shit just slides off my back now. I don't really care because I understand. That's like, hey, to one of the kids, hey, could I have that energy back? Because I'm going to go give it to somebody that doesn't even know I'm fucking pissed.
Right.
That's what that feels like, right? The either or analogy for me is really powerful because I don't think people realize like your resource, your energy, your Skittles are limited. Mm-hmm. And so when you realize that you have to take them away from someone else in order to sit in that venge, that venge pool that feels so good, that makes you so happy, right? Well, you're not throwing the ball with your kid or taking care of them or plugged into them or whatever that looks like.
Or even planning to do those things, right? Because your thoughts are consumed. You'll sit there and waste however much time you want to, as long as it feels warm and as long as it feels cozy, you're just going to sit there and keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Robbing yourself of the ability to even think about doing other things.
Yeah, no doubt. And you don't even realize it.
Yep.
So when you said to me a couple weeks ago about shedding vengeance and that being what stuck and made it to my calendar for today. Mm-hmm. Say more about kind of where you've gotten to that, because this is where the dog and the pony come in.
Yeah,
Again, don't know where you are.
Yeah,
which one you are.
Yikes. So I pause here for a second, not because I'm not, a willing participant in this vulnerability and getting naked thing, but it's important to take a moment to get into how much information to give the folks at home, to give the viewing audience or the listening audience as it is for a backstory, right? Without going into a whole book of my own. I could sit down here and talk for hours and hours and hours about those issues, but as they kind of distill down to what's important for where I'm at with this subject right now, right? We're gonna talk about that and not plentiful other subjects. So okay, so for the folks at home, I have been dealing with a family situation for quite some time, for the forever really, but it's more extreme over these past couple of years. I grew up in a house with a this is great. So my dad is a narcissist, and when the people wrote the book about narcissists, they had him in mind. And what's interesting, and if I had a little bit different perspective, I would find absolutely comical, is he's got narcissism in spades, but he's also a dipshit, right? And so it's if you're outside looking in, you're looking at somebody who's making the world out of absolutely nothing, and it's really, there's really some comedy that goes along with it. But unfortunately for me, I'm the guy that tells the truth all the time, and when you have somebody who lives in a fictional world, if you're the person that brings the truth, you're public enemy number one. And so that's where I find myself in my story, is public enemy number one within my family, because I'm the person that's willing to say the hard things. I'm the person that's willing to tell the truth and say, now what do we do about it, instead of just turning and looking away and ignoring it. Right. That's one of the things that kind of feeds the fire. If there's nobody there to check a person, then that person tends to spiral further into something that's not necessarily reality. Is what we've discovered in my life, is how that works.
Well, it's their reality, right?
Sure.
So understanding that your perspective of that situation is what you're witnessing.
Sure.
So when it's fascinating, and I'm not trying to bust your balls about stuff, but definitely.
Oh, yes, you are.
For the listeners at home, yes, I am.
Right.
No, but I think that that's really important distinction, because understanding that from your vantage point, that's your perspective, right? And maybe from a lot of different people's vantage points, that's their perspective as well. But that's truth to him, right? And so, again, I will maintain that, broken men and all of that. But continue.
Yeah. So I've found myself in a situation where the arrows just keep coming. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what I say. The arrows just keep coming, and they just keep coming. And it's been a relentless attack over the past couple of years, and I've been I'm guilty of being angry. I'm guilty of being vengeful, and I've come face to face with vengeance. I have also had Anne lay next to me and plot where to put the bodies. My situation has been as extreme for me as it was for her, perhaps. Right. Most certainly in how much time that it takes or takes away. Yes. as those things go. So I lost myself there for a second. So there's, yes, vengeance is one thing, and it's warm and it's cozy and it feels so good to think about, right? And we all know that it's bad, right? Every single time you hear the stories about, it's, if you see it in the movies all the time. It's, if you kill the person that killed your loved one, it won't make you feel any better. And we get these messages all the time that tell us that, don't be vengeful and whatever. And so we know it's bad, right? And we know it's wrong. And yet, we feel those feelings, and we tend, I think, as people, when we have those feelings, to kind of, push them away, right? And they're probably not what we're supposed to be doing, but it's much easier to push it away and say, I don't like this. I'm not supposed to like this, and I don't want to pick it apart. I want to feed it because it feels warm. But what happens is the vengeance starts to come out in other places, because it's not just its own being. It has its little brothers and little sisters that run around, and you find yourself, if only I could make him understand the way I feel about this, right? That's vengeance. It's coming out as a different flavor. It's coming out of a different hose. It's exactly the same thing, right? It's you know what, that no good son of a bitch, if he would just get run over by a truck or stuff, would just make me happy. And that's fine. But then, you find yourself where it's like, I just want him to understand, right? I just want him to know where I'm coming from, or if only I could say this, or if only I could ask this, if only I could understand. But all those things, it's like in the intro, you said something about, standing there in the ashes, and everybody else is gone. The situation's moved on, and you're sitting there in the rubble, and you're the only one that's sitting there in the rubble. And every one of those thoughts that you have about, if only I could, it keeps you standing right there in the rubble, right? Vengeance isn't just murder, and I think that's right. It's or getting even, right? Sometimes just feeling the need to be understood. That's all. That's the same thing.
It is. It is. And when you say that, now that that's not possible.
Sure.
Because when it's already charged the way that it is,
right,
they're not listening to you,
sure,
whoever they is. It doesn't even matter,
right,
and you're not listening to them, right?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter. So you can go say, "Here's what I want you to understand," and you're talking to a brick wall, and vice versa. And so it's like, you keep feeding that, though, and you don't even realize. So, when you're talking about all of this stuff, something came to mind that made me chuckle a little bit, because, I have this analogy where energy equals Skittles. And Cameron was going through this a couple of years ago, and I said, I want my fucking Skittles back, because Cameron had been processing so much of this stuff that I don't think he realized what that was doing to him. And it was just eating his lunch.
Sure.
And you're feeding it with your anger and your thoughts and your all of the things. And as long as you keep feeding it, that fire is stoked. It will continue to go. You can put as much anger on it as you want, but you're the only one standing there in the ashes.
You're the only one.
And if you wonder why you're pushing your family away, why you're pushing your friends away, why you're this bitter old fucking man, which here's a public service announcement. That's how this happens.
Sure.
You can look and say, what's with old Bill down the street who keeps to himself and shuffles to the mailbox and he's fucking angry? This is the shit he decided to carry, right? Because no one's going to stick next to him and do this all the way out. Or maybe they are, but good job, Bill. You just fucking made your wife of 50 years miserable for 40 of those years because you couldn't let something go.
Absolutely.
What was the first thing for you where you kind of realized how important it was to, I'm assuming it wasn't my Skittles analogy, but maybe I'm wrong.
Right. So, through my journey, one of the things that helps me to understand the cost of things. I love the Skittles analogy. It's great. But when we're talking about that, there's real costs associated also. And I like to use the opportunity cost of thought. Every time you're thinking about one thing, it's time that you're not thinking about something else. And every time you're thinking about something that's negative or destructive, it's time where you're not thinking about something that's positive or constructive, right? And so if you get to a place where you can say, oh, if I just had 15 minutes more to prepare for this event or that event, or if I just had 15 minutes more to order this thing or to research this topic or something like that, and you don't have it, and you start wondering where all your time went, and you realize, hey, wait a second, I spent, all the time I was driving from one place to another, and my mind was completely consumed with what, with what my dad said or what my sister did to me, or one of those types of things, and then it's like, oh shit, I lost all of this time where I could have been productive for something that would make me happy, instead of feeding this vengeance fire that's coming out in places you don't even realize it. Your subconscious slips into a spot and you just start thinking thoughts, and then 30 minutes are gone and you don't feel any better.
Right.
Nothing's happened, and you've just robbed yourself of 30 minutes you could have been productive on something that makes you happy.
Well, and I maintain that I think that that's the stuff that makes people sick. I think that's the stuff that causes cancer. I think that that's the stuff that causes disease. When you have things that are literally just eating you up from the inside out, you can watch. Like, I'm sitting, as you're going through this, for people that are listening, Cameron has been kind of really unpacking things for the last couple of years. Cameron and I both came from this place about our childhoods of like, we're not going to be the victim. I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And then some stuff happened that kind of slammed, into the side of Cameron's head where it was like, oh shit, this stuff is all going to start coming up, whether I want it to or not. And now I have to figure out how to deal with it and process it in a way where you can release it instead of continuing to carry the hot stone.
Right.
But you don't even realize that's the kind of stuff that I think makes you sick. And also, life is a fucking gift. Today is a gift. If someone gave you a gift and you're like, nah, I don't really need 8 of these hours today. I'm going to sit here and think about murdering someone. Which, again, no judgment. I fucking spent way too long doing that. What did I gain out of it?
Right.
Not a single thing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it robbed time with my kids. It robbed time with with you, with my friends, just enjoyment of life because I just had poison. I could literally just feel poison in my stomach.
Yeah, I like that line that that you have used often, maybe not often, but enough where it stuck with me about engaging in those types of activities is like drinking poison and waiting for somebody else to die, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's exactly what it is,
It is.
right? So it's I think it's interesting. I think it's important to understand when talking about perspective. More often than not, I'm going to say probably every single time that you have some subject which creates or triggers vengeance within you, whatever you feel the need to get even, whatever it is, guaranteed the person that you would have on the receiving end of that doesn't care.
No.
They don't care. They don't know. It doesn't matter to them.
Yeah, they're
right?
sleeping fine at night.
Yeah, they probably even forgot who you were, or they don't care, or they don't wish to know. It doesn't even matter.
Right.
The point is, what you're doing is pointless.
It is.
Right.
That's a great way to say that. It is absolutely pointless. So the faster that you can work through that and decide, I realize I'm holding a hot stone. I don't want to fucking hold it anymore.
Right.
I got to figure out how to set it down because a lot of times there's work that has to go into being able to set that down. It's not as easy as I'm just going to set this down, right? There has to be some stuff where you're figuring out, processing, releasing shit. But it's worth it.
Yep.
Do you want to be Bill at the end of the street that fucking nobody wants to be around? He's an angry old son of a bitch. Nobody wants to be Bill.
Yeah, do you remember when we lived in the townhouse when first place we lived together, and there was the crusty old curmudgeon down at the end of the block. And his name was Marvin, and Marvin was angry about every single thing. It didn't matter what it was. He was angry, and cancer ate him up.
Literally, like you can look at how that happens.
Yep.
You get to decide how you engage with this life, right?
You do.
We don't have control over things, but we do have control on how we engage with this. Right. And so you get to decide if you're going to be the one that's going to repeat fucking shitty, fucked up childhood stuff, whether you realize it or not, right? A lot of people don't even realize
they're
carrying those invisible weights, right? So
Yep.
that's part of my mission with stuff is just to have like a savage self-awareness because people are like, no, I'm fine. It's like, well, did you fix that? Did you acknowledge that? Did you do all the work to get that? And they're like, no, I don't need to. And it's like,
yeah,
you kind of do. In whatever your capacity is. It doesn't have to look like the same thing as everybody else. It doesn't have to be traditional therapy. It doesn't have to be whatever. But it does have to be a reckoning within yourself, whether that's just processing it in your thoughts, allowing it to come up, not being so numbed out with technology and all of these distractions that we have. Go sit in a fucking park and say, I'm going to think about why this vengeance feels so important to me, right? What am I gaining from this? Because even when you started and you said, I have something that I want to be able to say, and if I could just say, if you could just understand, that's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
That expectation of, I just want someone to see my point, when it's already in a charged situation, you can barely get somebody to see your point that you like and that you're, like everyone's doing their own thing. No one's going to come to the table and be like, oh, sure, I would love to listen with my ears wide open and not sitting in there making my argument as you're speaking. Like we all do that, which is, also I encourage people to try to listen to someone when they speak instead of already starting to form your rebuttal or whatever that is. Even if you have to say after they're done speaking, you know what, may I take a moment to process my thoughts and so that I can respond? That's a really savage, powerful situation to be able to do that instead of sitting in my head thinking, how am I going to respond? Let me just listen to you all the way out. We've done that in our relationship where I think that's been a big game changer, where we used to interrupt each other all the time, all the time. And by all the time, I mean as recently as yesterday for Cameron, but he's working on it.
I felt like I did it a couple minutes ago right while we're sitting here.
No, but it is. It's a big thing to work on in a relationship. And it's I say that thing and I encourage people, listen with as much passion as you want to be heard. And if you can do that, it's incredible how much you can gain out of, knowledge about something or someone's position or their perspective. That's important.
Yeah. And I want to hit on the savage self-awareness that you were starting in on a second ago. So we as people have a tendency to attract people that are similar to us, right? So if you're negative, you're bringing negative people in. If you're positive, you're bringing positive people in. So we tend to surround ourselves with, similar people, right? Well, those similar people might not, after a certain period of time, you've collected these people that are, pretty similar in your thoughts and actions and stuff like that. Well, they're not always going to help you see yourself at that point, right? You're too similar. It's
like a human echo chamber.
It's exactly like a human echo chamber, So I invite you to maybe get some new friends, or put yourself into some new circumstances that might give the opportunity for some new perspective. It's extremely helpful, I think, for self-awareness to have people that are kind of outside of your realm that you can get that from. It's tough enough to find people that care about you enough to be able to, voice their concerns about your actions or your qualities or, things like that. But sometimes it's easier when there's a little bit of distance, where you can get some perspective without having, somebody hold back because, they have to see you at work the next day or they have to see you at the camping trip on the weekend or something like that. So
I highly recommend getting a podcast. It's been a rough year for me because I get everyone's perspective now and fuck you all.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fascinating because I thought I was a lot more normal than I actually am. I know.
Yeah.
And I'm not at all.
Right.
And that's okay, right? That's
no, I get it. But that's the whole thing, right?
That's the perspective.
So because you think you're normal, obviously, and I'm around you all the time, and so obviously I have to think you're normal. Otherwise, there's something really wrong with me. And so you have all these people around you that normalize this whole situation that's not normal, right?
So it's a huge slap in the face in the best possible way because I don't want to be completely out of touch with that stuff. But I didn't realize, last night as I'm sitting there putting grommets into these canvas things, I'm like, everyone doesn't have a grommet machine or fucking 3 tape guns for there's just shit. I'm a weirdo in the best possible way, right? I use the word weird as a compliment. But yeah, it's not, what I do at my house is not normal. I just figured it was because that's how I've been going all of this time.
Yeah, well, I'm not one for perspective on that because I live in the same house and find most of those things to be rather normal. Right. So yeah, I'm not
so that's a problem.
I'm not the best judge.
Yeah. Where on the scale of 1 to 10 are you at with releasing vengeance associated with the stuff that you're processing right now?
So, I'm going to say that coming up with a measurement, as it were, to answer that question is difficult. I think that I think for me it doesn't necessarily work that way. I don't know, only because I don't know what it looks like at the end. Right. I know what it looks like at the beginning. Right. And I know what it looks like right now, but I don't know what it looks like on the other side. And I don't have a gauge on what I still need to go through to get to the other side because, I find these triggers. I find these situations. I find these words that are said and actions that are done that just strike me, and then I have to work through them. I have to figure out where that came from. I have to figure out why that bothers me so much. I have to figure out why that gets me, sitting on the couch with my cozy blanket of vengeance, and then stop it, right? I mean, it's one thing to identify it, and sometimes you need help to identify it, but then it's something else to get to the bottom of it. And it's not just there's like, oh, there's this vengeance thing that I'm just going to go work on, a little bit, because it's not like that. You don't just have this one big ball that's there somewhere and you're going to go find that thing and you're going to dismantle it, right? It doesn't work that way. There's all kinds of little balls all over the place, and some of them have strings that attach to other ones, and some of them just don't. And
some of them are like Clark W. Griswold fucking ball of lights, and you pull it out and it's like, oh shit.
But the problem is, and that's great. Okay, great.
Sure.
You found it, you got it, and you're pulling the little lights and they're twinkling or they're not twinkling, and you're trying to make them do or not do or whatever. And then you get to the bottom of it and you think, all right, excellent. Yeah. You get yourself a breather, pat yourself on the back, and you get to feeling pretty good. And then you turn around and step right into another one, So
I got tired of watching people drag themselves through life half dead from exhaustion, comparison, and bullshit. So I built a system that flips the script. This book is for the ones who refuse to settle, who know deep down there's more, and who are ready to call themselves out to level up. If that's you, welcome. Let's go. You can get your copy of the Life Hack Playbook on Amazon or on the podcast website, letsgetnakedpodcast.com. When you say that as things are coming up, these triggers or whatever, you realize it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, I just wanted
absolutely.
I just wanted to make certain, because that's a point that's, I think, really important for the listeners to understand. The triggers that come from whatever work that it is that Cameron is doing specifically with his family has nothing to do with his family, right?
Right.
They're mirroring back to him the lessons that he's supposed to be learning. And so when you realize that your triggers are actually your homework in this university of life, 1000%, and it has nothing to do with the other person.
Right.
To me, I think that understanding is hugely important in helping you be able to do the work, because you think that you're supposed to reconcile something with that other person, and that's actually not how it is at all.
Correct. Because they don't care.
Because they don't care. Well, maybe they did. It doesn't even matter.
They don't know. They don't care.
It doesn't even matter. Right. That's not the work, right? That's not the rub, like you said. It's figuring out, okay, why does that bother me? And if you're just numbing on top of it, or hiding from it, or ooh, that feels uncomfortable, and then not leaning into it, that's why we have the society the way that we do, with everyone so medicated. No one wants to feel anything like, ooh, that feels uncomfortable. It's like, wake up, everybody. The awesome sauce lives on the other side of the discomfort. When you realize that the boogeyman that lives under your bed isn't actually that fucking scary. Someone on the podcast said it like this the other day. They were like, the Scooby-Doo thing. I didn't have a TV growing up, so I don't fucking know. But apparently they took the mask off of somebody, and it was like, Mr. Smith, and it was just like a regular fucking guy. But if we live in fear, But if we live in fear, and it's like this monster, this boogeyman, we don't want to touch those triggers. We don't want to whatever. And then you realize it's just Mr. Smith with a fucking Halloween mask on. It's like, oh my God, I'm ruining my whole life for just that. Yeah. It's not that scary. Right? Like, yes, fucked up things happen when you were a kid. Yes, fucked up things happened to me when I was a kid. Am I going to let that ruin the gift that this life is because I can't fucking figure out how to set that down?
Right.
Not a chance, right? We were talking about IQ versus EQ, and how much more important EQ is than IQ just in navigating life, right? Who gives a fuck if you can recite calculus and tell me what pi is, which I know that you don't. It's fine. We got it. We get it. You're book smart.
I only use pi to 4 decimal places, and that's not even because I feel like it's important to do that. I do that because the person that taught me, I hold in high regard, and so I continue that habit.
Which is lovely. But if you can't figure out how to get to work without fucking losing your cool and fucking screaming in traffic, then what good does it do that you can't fucking that you can remember pi? So. People kind of understanding that, and also understanding that just because you weren't raised with that, which a lot of us weren't, we were all raised in this culture of don't be a pussy, I'll give you something to cry about, like that whole culture of stuff. Just because you were raised in that way doesn't mean you can't do better. We know better. Let's do better. If you can have a better life because you can have an elevated EQ,
Right.
do everything you can to figure that out. I've turned it into a complete game.
Right.
Now I not only understand my own emotional intelligence and what's going on with me, but other people and the energy that they put out as well. And I swear to God, I could be happy for the rest of my life just witnessing what happens around me. Because most people have still the emotional intelligence of middle schoolers. And
Sure.
you can watch it happen. I think The Real Housewives of anything is my absolute favorite example of that, because I watch these
I
women.
wouldn't know.
I know. Well, I watch these women in their 40s and 50s and 30s. And it's like, do you girls realize you're doing like super baby bitch behavior? That's like
Right.
eighth grade. It's eighth grade. We never leveled up past that point.
Mm-hmm.
What a mess. What a waste of life.
Well, not even just a waste of life, but I'll come from it from a different angle. Yeah, it's all those things, but then we glorify it and we put it on TV, and it's like, people look at that and they think that's what real life is, or
Yeah.
that's what real life is supposed to be, right? And it's just not, right?
It's interesting that you say this, because I have today, we had a very exciting day where I launched my book.
The
yes.
Life Hack Playbook. Please find Ann on Amazon.
Oh my God, he's totally plugging
it. And you can get the Kindle version. You can get the hard copy version right now. Paperback sometime next year, but in the short term, we can get the Life Hack Playbook right now.
So, what was I going to say when you just went into your whole commercial?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but
I got excited to plug the book, and then I forgot where we were at.
I don't know either. We were just sharing about the launch today and how exciting.
Well, we were
it
talking
was.
about the housewives.
Oh,
and
the stigma
them.
associated with just self-improvement, right?
Yes.
So, the description of the book to people that are maybe don't know about it is, it's like the gateway drug. I call it the gateway drug because I've spent the last 9 years. Today, I have 9 years sober from alcohol. I quit drinking 9 years ago.
Congratulations again, baby.
Thank you. Which has been wildly impactful, obviously. It was a big pivot point, and everything from there has been, I'm just a completely different person because of it. But
I can attest to that.
yes, you can co-sign on that for sure.
Yes.
But I've literally spent the last 9 years working on myself in a pretty aggressive manner.
I would say aggressive is a good adjective for that.
It is. Well, I didn't realize that I was in this hamster wheel prior to that, right? Of just numbing out the shit that you just didn't even realize you were carrying around. So in doing that, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Ann and what makes her tick and all of the different things. And so really unpacking all of that, this book is basically the first 8 years of my sobriety and the things that I learned through the different books and the therapy and the healing modalities and all that shit. And I ran it through this Ann filter. For those of you that know me, I have a very interesting way of looking at things, and things are definitely analogies for me. And it just makes more sense to me if I'm able to visualize things that way, learning boundaries by, my TSA, my big bulk TSA guy that's like, don't pick up somebody else's luggage at the airport, right? I just have those visuals, but that's what helps me do it. So everything that's in that book is kind of like this distilled down version of what I think is the high points of the things that I learned.
For sure.
But I was a mess. I was an absolute mess before I quit drinking. I didn't have any idea about boundaries or, some of the shit that I learned. And again, nothing against Mom. You did a great job, but you didn't know either. And so it's like, we just didn't, it's
Right.
like my dad's trauma, my mom's trauma, they put it in together. Now they're handing down trauma. And so I realize that you're not necessarily at a place with your folks to be able to understand in the same way that I am. It took years to get to this point of really being able to show grace and understand that they were just doing the best that they could.
Right.
Because the timing that they grew up, right? I listened to my dad's story, I listened to my mom's story, and I think, oh my God. The amount of shame and guilt that my mom was raised with, it's a wonder I even am functioning at all
Right.
with all of the shit that she passed down. She didn't do that like, fuck her, I'm going to fucking get her, stick her with all this generational trauma. That you don't
Right.
know, but you hear that around and you think, oh, it's generational trauma, whatever. Like, no, that's a real fucking thing.
Right.
That's they just keep passing it down because you didn't know. And I passed shit down to the girls too that now I'm trying to help them work through.
Sure.
Talk about coming full circle, working and putting so much work into healing myself and then really being able to support the girls in what that looks like for them, which is hard because they're going to do that on their own timing. I don't get to say, you've had enough time to process that. Now can we just be friends again?
Right.
That's a really hard thing to be able to hold space for somebody else, for them to process on their own.
Yeah, I'm going to say that with your experience with me, that's given you plenty of experience with, holding space while somebody processes at their own speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long? So let's talk about holding space, because I just absolutely love this. I didn't realize until more recently how good of a space holder Cameron was.
From day one.
Yeah.
From day one.
Yeah.
That's, our relationship was kind of built on that. I guess we're getting naked.
We're getting naked.
We're getting naked, and we're
Okay.
getting vulnerable here. So I can kind of speak to. I didn't understand what holding space was until recently. The past couple of years or whatever, when that's become more of a buzzword in our house. Mainly because of your journey or where you're at in your journey as far as that goes. But when we first started seeing each other, you were not in a good place, right? Relationships don't start when people are in those places. Nobody ever expects that to happen, right? I mean, you got to go through some rebounds before you get back on before you get back in the dating scene and stuff like that, whatever. I mean, there's all these things, and there's all this previous, trauma, previous, stuff that you have to heal before you can, move on effectively with your life, especially, that kind of, you can't bring that kind of baggage into a new relationship, and I understood that back then. I couldn't resist myself. But I understood that. Right. And so I did. And so I held space for you for a great deal of time when our relationship first started, because I knew there was, hey, there's baggage that shouldn't be brought, and a person has to deal with that on their own terms and their own time. And the last thing in the world I want to do is get right in the middle of that and be like, hey, how you doing? What are you doing later? Blah blah. And so it was a thing, right? And I didn't know that that's what I was doing until recently. And obviously I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know there was words for it, right? Mm-hmm. Holding space. And so I did. From day one, I held space for you.
Do you know that I drug that all the way through to ayahuasca?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. I didn't deal with any of that. I didn't know. Like, I didn't realize that that's what you did.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Oh, you deal, you process, you deal. No. You just keep pushing it on down. There's got to be space in there somewhere,
Sure.
and then you just keep numbing on top of it. I've said before that when I took my first drink, that felt like home to me.
Yeah.
That numb feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, God, I need a minute. It's that my lip just quivered.
Yeah.
That numb feeling is so excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, being on the other side of that taking control of your life instead of just feeling like you're pouring something on top of that, no matter what your numb of choice is,
sure.
Way fucking better.
Yeah.
Way fucking better. I just didn't know.
Yeah. Yes. And mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest reasons why people maybe don't tend to get into the self-improvement concepts is, yes, it's effort, but it's also time. And, free time is a luxury. Most people don't have free time to go get into things, right? It's, there's enough on my plate, not my plate, but as in general, there's enough on people's plates where they're just doing, right? Just staying on top of what life is takes everything, right? And so they have to push it down. Things come up and they don't know what it is. Emotional stuff comes up and they push it down and they pack it away just to be able to continue with the day-to-day grind with stuff. I totally get it. But what we don't realize is every time we do that, it takes a little toll, and it takes a little toll, and it takes a little toll, and it makes it so that if and when you get to a spot where you're willing, able to deal with those things you've been pushing away, that they've come worse, right? It's the longer they stay underneath there, they get worse. They grow roots and they grow and they get nasty, and and then we realize, oh, wait a second, maybe I should have been dealing with this stuff, a long time ago when I started pushing it down. And so it becomes a matter of, I need to make this a priority,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Right. It's a priority when something's rubbing me the wrong way, and it's got me thinking vengeful thoughts. It's got me thinking other things. It's got me, torn up about this, or, hurt about this, or whatever it is. I got to get to the bottom of that, because if I don't, I'm just going to push it away. I'm just going to get back to dealing with everyday life. But at some point, that dude's going to come back. And when that dude comes back, he's a little bit nastier than he was the first time.
He knocks real loud.
He knocks.
Yeah, and it's usually after shit comes out sideways and you've destroyed your life because you didn't make it a priority, which is exactly what happened for me. I like to use the analogy of, so you talk about, I don't have time.
Right.
So say you had something that takes five hours a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of just what it takes to keep running this hamster wheel that you're doing.
Yep.
And if you took 2 hours, you could figure it out and make that 5 hours a week either go away or maybe, reduce it to 1 hour. And you say, I don't have time for that 2 hours to be able to do that.
Right.
But weekly, you spend 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, 5 hours, rather than just spending a one-time 2 hours to fucking figure it out, or otherwise make it so that goes away.
There's a lot of hours you get to spend on other stuff
It
if
is,
you can get that figured out.
It is, but when you realize that, because so many people make excuses and say, I don't have time. And I get it. Like,
Sure.
I've had all of the things in my life where I had three kids at home and running a business and doing all the things, and it was like, I don't have time. But when I realized I didn't make that a big enough priority to make time for that, just even that mindset shift where you say those words instead of just stop saying I don't have time. Because everybody has the same 24 hours. So there's no fucking excuse why I can get stuff done, or she can get stuff done, or he can get stuff done, but you can't get stuff done. You just have to be able to fucking figure out your life hack, or whichever one you're going to, however you're going to improve that. But we all have that opportunity to us. We get to make those choices.
Right.
And those opportunities of fixing things or making them run more smoothly or whatever, they're just laying around on the ground.
Sure.
You could just pick them up.
Every single moment comes with an opportunity cost. And if you're able to figure out a way to make those opportunity costs work in your favor by fixing something that costs you a bunch of time, wow, that's a pretty solid investment.
It's a solid investment, and it's actually really fun. I've turned it into a whole game, right? I mean, that's the whole thing, like the Life Hack Playbook, and I have the whole front of it as an homage to my football playing son, which is just awesome. Because we figure out ways to hack different things so that it flows easier, that you're choosing the chill way, that you're not getting twisted up in shit that doesn't fucking matter, Somebody says, fuck you, cuts me off, whatever, like, enjoy your day. They cut me off. Sir, I was just holding this space right here for you. I don't get fucking worked up about it.
Yep.
I don't know what he's going through. Why would that piss me off? Like, people really lose their shit out there on a daily basis. And I used to do the same thing until I kind of was able to shift things and understand I can either do that, I can either get pissed off in traffic, or I can plug into, throw the ball with my kid later tonight. Which one is more important to me?
Right.
Because it's an either or. Right? When you realize, this one always gets me, when you realize a yes to somebody else is a no to you. Right? So many people say yes all the time to other people. They don't want to. They do it out of obligation, or what's even worse, a perceived obligation, right? Which is the fucking killer. Yeah. We all have this thing.
Yeah, that's Karen coming out right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I have to rant about something really quickly. So I have not until this show had anything to do with social media. And I stand behind that because I think it's garbage. Sorry if you're a fan. It's not real life. People that have certain rules about what you can and can't do on social media, it's all bullshit. You're putting on fake handcuffs about you have to like somebody's something and you have to not, and you can't unfollow somebody. Do whatever the fuck you want. There's no social media police out there. If somebody comes to you and says, why did you unfollow me? Be like, are you fucking serious? This is not real life, right? No one gives a fuck. Stop doing that. Everyone is like, put themselves in this twisted, perceived expectation about what's important to other people that they like, or that they see, or that they can't tell someone that they went here because then they're going to post a picture over here and somebody's going to find out. That's all bullshit. You guys realize that, right? I just you realize that, but you and I aren't normal, Cameron. You and I are like the least normal people when it comes to social media.
Right.
But people really get twisted up in this stuff.
They do.
Right? I'm hanging out with friends and they're like, do you follow so-and-so? I'm like, I literally have no idea. And if I don't want to follow somebody, I just hit the unfucking follow button because I couldn't give a shit less.
Right.
And do I care that that's going to hurt their feelings? That's about them, not me. I trigger stuff in other people all the time. I'm a loud, obnoxious, fucking comfortable in my own skin person. If I've triggered something in you, you're welcome. That's on me. That's on me, right? Because that's literally when you realize that triggers have nothing to do with the other person.
Sure.
Right? If you feel something about something that I've said, get curious about why that brought that up for you and fix your shit.
Figure it out.
Right? Fix your shit. Chapter 3. Fix your shit. That was fun this morning on the launch. I was like, what's your favorite chapter? Fix your shit.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how much bullshit I was carrying around until I started getting really comfortable looking in the mirror and going, ew.
Yeah.
Right? That's gross. I don't want to fucking carry that shit around.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the one on perspective personally.
Do you? Tell me more.
I do. So, well, perspective is important. I've, I was raised in a house with when we talked about the narcissist portion. But the dude was also a drug addict and a drunk, and which presented all of its own challenges. But I'm throughout my journey, I've become good at a lot of things that I don't want to be good at, and I was introduced to family therapy at an early age, and one of the things that maybe the only thing that I took from all that way back then is, and now I've lost my train of thought here.
God, him getting old is rough, guys.
It's
He's
really
50.
a bitch. But so what it is when evaluating a circumstance that's got you worked up, angry or otherwise, trying to come up and you're convinced, this person was after me because of this, and you just can't tell yourself otherwise. If you can find a plausible alternative theory, it's helpful to put yourself in a spot where you think, well, you know what, maybe I don't have the whole picture. Mm-hmm. Maybe there could be something other than what I'm thinking, right? Because I'm right there. I'm convinced that this is the way that it has to be. And if you can find another something that just makes sense, it can help to diffuse that, right? And it can bring you right down. And the chapter on perspective is exactly that for me. If you can understand that, somebody else's perspective, right, every bit as valid as yours.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Then who are you at that point, right? There's no reason to get worked up. You're just one person with this perspective, just like somebody else is. And maybe they're angry at you for something you did or whatever, and they just don't understand perspective, or you don't understand theirs. If you did, you might react differently. You might choose a different way to think or feel about it if you just realize that everybody else is coming from their same spot. Their convictions about what's real for them are every bit as valid and every bit as strong as yours as far as that goes.
Well, it's wild to me because one of the things that comes up for me when you're saying that is when you're trying to tell someone what your experience is and they're telling you it's not like that. I always think that that's hilarious to me because it's like you can say, here's what this was for me, and it can be something that you and I experienced together, and you can say it's not like that. Well, don't fucking tell me what my experience was like. I'm coming at this from my unique perspective. Through all of the lenses and filters that I've put on based on all of the different things that have happened in my life. So just so everyone knows, thank God Cameron and I are still together because he did that for a long time, and some of that laying in bed planning murder was not just for my ex-brother-in-law. That, but that's a whole thing when you try to do that. But you did come from that from a long time. Cameron and I have this thing now where we joke around because it's like, it's a 6 and a 9. Right. We can both be right. So it's like if you can stick in it long enough to communicate and realize that your partner or your spouse maybe is right from their perspective, because when you sit there long enough and go, well, show me what you're seeing, right, and be interested in what does the shoe look like on the other foot.
Absolutely.
Right? If you can do that, it makes everything not matter, right? Because it's like, yes, this is what my experience is, but I don't have to argue with you to try to convince you that I'm right. I'm right for me. I already fucking know that. You're right for you, which is excellent. And my favorite thing is having a conversation where two people are plugged into something and you change my mind about something.
Sure.
Because I'm listening with as much passion as I want to
Absolutely.
be heard, right? And I can take that and hear and feel into whatever your explanation is or whatever facts that you have, and I can go, wow, that is interesting. Maybe I'm not going to change my position, but understanding someone else's perspective, that's the most fucking fun that we can possibly do. I look at this society and everyone's yelling at each other and freaking out, and they're right, you're right, and they're right. And it's like, do you guys realize how ridiculous you are? You're all fucking right. From your specific perspective and all of the things that led up to wherever you are today, you're 100% right.
Sure.
But it's a 6 and a fucking 9. So open your eyes and stop wasting so many goddamn Skittles. You're not going to understand all of the analogies until you read the book. So just read the book and get it over with, you know?
Yeah.
It is. It's an excellent gateway, I think, for people that aren't interested in self-improvement, because there is this whole big stigma about it where it's like, well, something must be wrong with me if I have to read something that's self-improvement. But newsflash, something's fucking wrong with all of us, just so you know. If you think you got to this point in your life without having stuff that fucked you up or messed up parents or like whatever any of that was, this distills it down in a way so that it's not, you know, I don't have a degree in therapy or, you know, lab coat speak or whatever. This is just the shit that made sense to me as I was reading it, where it was like, that's what boundaries are. Because everyone always said it's all about perspective. And I said it too. But until you realize it on a really deeper level where you can look at that from the other, like put the shoe on the other foot.
Yeah.
Not just say it, not just be like, sure. Like, no, put the shoe on the other foot. What does that feel like to be you in a situation? Right? Even just last night in the conversation on the couch where I'm explaining something and I'm like, let me think about that from Cameron's perspective and then back that train up. Right? But it's so valuable. It's a game changer when you're able to plug in from that. From that way. Yeah.
Speaking of Game Changer Publishing, the Life Hack Playbook by Ann Karber. Get your copy today.
He's literally shameless. This poor man, to support me is, what is that even like? It's a fucking mess.
Yeah, I thought, and just when I thought we were done talking about the vengeance, here it comes again.
Oh my God. I know.
Right.
For everyone listening, it's funny because I don't think I've said this before, but when Cameron and I started our relationship, it was really important that we both came from a naked perspective. And that was always a thing with us. It's funny that this is the name of the podcast, but Cameron and I stood naked in front of each other, and we
used to say brutally open and brutally honest.
Brutally honest. And you know, we had our struggles obviously and lots of stuff in between, but we've been together 24 years and I feel like I've never been more naked in front of you, and I highly recommend it. You know, I have a lot of girlfriends who don't speak with their partners in the same way that we do. And because they're just not willing to be vulnerable or they're not in that position. And I just say, like, lead with vulnerability, even if it's fucking scary, even if it's scary, because it gives that other person, your partner, permission to be able to understand. And maybe you say that. Maybe you say, hey, I want to try something new. I really want to be able to lean into this vulnerability position because that's supposed to be your person. But what happens is the kids and the work and the shit that happens, and you find yourself 10 years into it going, what am I doing with this person? You know? And the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it, you know? So figuring out, like, what can I do to be able to really plug into my partner so that we're not breaking up families and whatever the fuck that looks like.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun.
It isn't. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Karber, before I wrap this up?
No, I think we've, covered stuff pretty well. I think from the vengeance standpoint, I'll just say if you find yourself where you're in that spot and you're thinking about it too much, there's something else that's underneath there that's fueling that. And if you can set the vengeance down, offer yourself a new perspective, try to get some help along the self-awareness line of it, and dig a little deeper and find what's in there that's causing that. Because 100% of the time, there's something in there that's causing that. And if you don't get it rooted out, it's just going to come back, and it's just going to come back. It's going to have different flavors. It's going to have different smells. It's going to have different feels, right? But it's the same thing that's underneath there.
It's coming out sideways either way. You can't just mow the weeds. You have to fucking pull them. And then you do, but when you do that, then it makes space for all of this awesomeness. And that's true, and know that it is.
That's 100% true. And I think if everybody realized that once you do dig that out, that space gets filled with something if you were choosing,
Yeah.
right? Then, wow,
Yeah.
it makes the work much more attractive.
Watching you do your work is the joy of my life. Oh, what do I have notes on the backside? Okay. That's our time for today. It feels way more casual when you're
All
here. I
right.
got my feet up on the couch and we're
Yeah,
just
look at
enjoying,
that.
so that's fun. If you have questions, suggestions, or think you have a story to add, please send us an email. Casey would love to hear from you. Her email address is ladies@letsgetnakedpodcast.com. And then do all the things to support the pod so that we can continue to do this important work. Follow, share, rate, review. You can get a copy of my book on Amazon, the Life Hack Playbook, or it will be available on our website soon as well. It just launched today, and so by the time this thing airs, it should be available on our website as well. So that's all the time for today. That's a wrap.